Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All In with Nate as we talk about this Falcon loss. First thing first, hold on, let me hit this comment real quick. I see you, Nick. Hey man, big win in Green Bay for you guys, by the way. Carolina's having a pretty good season. But I went into this game, didn't have us winning this game, to be brutally honest. But it's always frustrating when you fight back in a ball game against a very good ball club this year. The New England Patriots they've done what you're supposed to do when you're rebuilding a team. They had a good offseason. Drake May's been playing good ball. That defense has been much better. And I mean, we've got back into the game, and Falcon things cost us that game per usual. And it drops us to 3-5 on the season. Going to Berlin to play the Indianapolis Colts next week. This schedule's not getting any easier. However, let's just be brutally honest. You can't afford that many more losses before the season gets away from you. And although I think a lot of us had us losing this game today, just to fight back and lose the way that we did is even more depressing than straight up losing the game. You know what I mean? So the Falcons drop a game 24-23, fall to 3-5. Again, like I said, this season is getting away from us. And we all knew we would have our hands full today at New England. It was a pretty bad first half. The secondary was having a struggle. The offense didn't convert a third down into the third quarter in the game. We left points on the field in this first half by not passing up the field goal, going for it on fourth down. And then the second half, you find your way back into the ball game. Jalen Walker give you a big boost, and you find your way to cut this lead to 7. New England was held to 3 points in the second half. The defense did enough to make sure that you did not get far away from losing this game. And then you find a way to get back in the game and come close, and you almost tied the game. And freaking Parker Romo, what a time for the kicker to show up and blow the football game. What a time. What a time. But also, to be brutally honest, I know everybody, I've seen comments saying, oh, this is the Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson blame loss. Again, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because to be honest with you, your defense did what they needed to do despite the missed field goal. You got to stop. First down, I mean, you're getting to the midfield. Drake London comes up with a big catch. He had over 116 yards receiving today, by the way. He had a great day. You get to the 50-yard line. What was your sequence? You threw the ball 3 times before the 2-minute warning. The first one was an incomplete. The second one, now I'm going to put it like this. One, we shouldn't have been throwing the ball in that situation at the time of the fourth that it was. But number 2, Michael Pennett's total mistake right there. Even that ball comes to you, I would rather you roll out the pocket and throw it away and make it third down and 10 than stay in that pocket, get an intentional grounding, and make it third and long, which is what happened. It was 3rd and 20 on that play. And then, of course, nobody clicking on 3rd and 20. And Raheem Morris punted. A lot of folks did not agree with that punt. I mean, at the end of the day, you was in a situation where if you did, you did. If you did, you didn't. It's bad. That was bad to lose that way, especially after you fought back the way that you fought back in that game. And as mentioned in the start of the show, Carolina won today. Tampa's over 500. They're on a bye week. But again, you're already 0-2 in the division. You got Carolina in 2 weeks. It's not getting any easier for this team that wants to convince this fan base that they are a playoff ball club. At this point, you drop another game, your season possibly is over. And this is not an exaggeration. Yes, there's still, 9 games left on the season. 9 games left on the season. But if you fall to 3-6, that's going to be a tough climb back up, especially in a division where Carolina's 5-4, whereas Tampa's 6-2. It's not getting easier for this Falcon team. And at this point, this coaching staff is genuinely on the hot seat. Yes, they got back in this game. The talent showed up. Shout out to Jalen Walker. Jalen had a good game today, by the way. Our rookies started to show a lot of promise over these last couple of weeks. You can tell we missed Jalen Walker. He made a big difference in this game. Also, James Pierce Jr. had a pretty good game. He was giving that right tackle the business throughout the whole game. But again, your offense stalled for 80% of the game. What was it, late third quarter when we got our first third down conversion? New England was converting every time they got the ball, for the most part at one point. You cannot win a ball game starting off 0-5 on third down. You're just not going to do that. And now you're looking at a situation where, despite all that, you had a chance to win the ball game. But again, poor execution and bad coaching will cost you a ball game many times than none. And it cost us today. A very winnable game, might I add. But it's getting to a point now where this team is staring at a potential situation where you might see some firings happen. And it could start at the top. So, again, nothing against the New England Patriots. New England, like I said, I started to show off giving New England their props. New England is 7-2. Whether people are paying that attention or not, they're 7-2. That's a really good ball club. And in a second year, on the first year coach Mike Vrabel, those boys look good. And they found a way to win a close game. But when you look at our situation, you got a Colts team that's coming off of a bad loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh took them through the woodshed today. So they're going to come into that game in Berlin ready to get back because they just lost today. That was their second loss of the season. But in our case, this is essentially the season. This is essentially the season right now. And if it doesn't change, this season is over despite what we have on that back half. Again, you have to. This is why you don't put yourself in this position to lose that game. Let me hit these comments real quick. Ed, what's going on, man? Good game for you guys, man. 7-2. That's a good start to the season. And the Patriots are gonna be a tough out. And I don't even think New England is nowhere near where they could be as far as like building a solid contender in the AFC. But what a start to the season for the New England Patriots. Tell what's going on. He said, "See." He also said, "I hate kickers." Man, me too. And it's sad because 2 games that we've lost this season has been, we had a Young Ho missed field goal that could have sent the game into overtime against Tampa Bay week 1. And then this happens today. So it's just like, it's so sad. It's to a point now where as Falcon fans, we're waiting for an accident to happen. That's just God of the truth. You're waiting for an accident to happen when it comes to this Falcon team. And it happened again today. So very, very, very heartbreaking, but not surprisingly, Falcon loss. Katie said something gonna have to happen in soon. And I very well think at the rate that this is going, if the Falcons drop that game next Sunday in Berlin, do not be shocked if either Raheem or Zach is fired. Somebody's gonna get fired behind this to further this season get away. Because from what this organization put out throughout the offseason, throughout the first, throughout going up to get James Pierce and Jalen Walker, which, again, they both have shown promise. I think that was a right move to do. But when you look at the situation of this team going forward, you're now staring at a possible situation where you may get rid of the whole coaching staff. And that's what's really about to come out if it doesn't change soon. So it's getting bad. It's getting bad to the point where this fan base is starting, myself included, is starting to check out on this team. It got to change because it's getting worse. Quincy, what's going on, bro? He said that needs to happen. Something's going to have to happen to shake this thing up. Because, again, there are issues with this team that some of it's coaching, but some of it's talent. Like today, I will truthfully say, before the Falcons defense locked in and made this a ball game, one of the things that killed us in this game was the simple fact that, for one, the Falcons could not stop. For example, Demario Douglas had 100 yards receiving in the first half. Those corners have been getting work all season long. Outside of A.J. Terrell, we don't have good corners. Let's just call it for what it is. Mike Hughes is not good. D Alford, we know how I feel about D Alford. Y'all know I give him all kind of heat week in and week out. I don't like D Alford. Then you look at the linebacking core. Diabo has been out, and ever since Diabo's been out in the early part of the San Francisco game, this defensive group up front has struggled against the run. Now, Trayvon Henderson didn't go absolutely crazy today, but they did give up 100 yards rushing today. He had 55 yards rushing. But, again, this is what happens when you don't have the best defensive tackles up front. Ayamada is really not that good. Rook don't fit this team. The best defensive tackle that we have right now is probably Brandon Dorles, and Dorles has been getting better each week. But again, he's more of your rotational piece. He's not a starter. So, again, you're having issues at 3 critical spots on your defense, and teams are going to continue to expose it. Last week, A-Chain exposed it with the Dolphins. The week before, CMC went crazy on the Falcons defensive front. It's getting bad at that point. And next week, we're going to deal with the guy that's in the MVP conversation. He didn't have a good day today, but Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is going to be the best running back we faced all season long. And this is not going to be able to work if you're planning on pulling off an upset now against the Indianapolis Colts next week. Something's going to have to give. Now, I will say this. We have seen improvement as far as this pass rush. Because today we had 6 sacks as a team. So the pressure's getting better. That's the one thing that I hate is getting away from us this season, because Jeff Ulbrich has done a really good job getting this Falcon pass rush back to the basics. But the problem is you're now staring at the I'll hit these comments in a second. I see what you said, Nick. But that's the situation you're falling into right now. You don't really have a really good situation up front on this defensive line. And now it's starting to show as we get ready to play some of these better teams. We're going to see Carolina in a couple more weeks, and Rico Dowdle's been really good for him over the last couple of weeks. I don't think Chuba had a better game that first game, Nick, too, by the way. Let me see some of these comments. Nate Lee said, keep it up, man. Get on somewhere. Do not keep it up, Falcons. That's fire-worthy. Quincy said, is it worth making some sort of trade or we just ride it out? I don't know. I really don't know at this point, because you're 3-5. You're 3-5. You're in a must-win situation. I honestly would have said 2 weeks ago, make a trade. But right now, the season's getting so far away from you. Do you make a trade and find yourself drop another game or two? Because let's say, hypothetically, you drop the next 2 games to Indy and Carolina and fall to 3-7. You now possibly fire Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson and the staff. You then fall yourself into a situation where you no longer have certain draft picks. You already are without a first-round pick. So, I don't know. They're kind of in a stuck situation right now. As I hate to say it, they're really in a stuck situation right now. Nick said, Rico, the best running back y'all played all year. That game was so weird. I don't even remember his statistics. So some respect to I'm saying next week, we're getting ready to go against Jonathan Taylor. And we all know Jonathan Taylor has arguably been the best player in the NFL this season. No disrespect to the rest of the league, but he's really been outstanding all season long for the Colts. They had a loss today, but he's really been great all season. Justin said Bijan started off hot and then fell off to the face of the play. And a lot of this, I like the fact that you brought this up. A lot of this falls on Zach Robinson and really this offensive scheme, because Bijan carried us the first, 5 weeks? But then ever since the game against the 49ers, what's his name? Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, had a good scheme against him. And since then, teams have been stacking the box and trying to make the quarterback beat you. But then you get to a point now where Drake had a good game today. He was outstanding today. Drake is Drake. Kyle Pitts has had a pretty good season as well. He had one bad drop, but other than that, he's had his moments throughout the season too. But after those 2 guys, Mooney has not been good all season. He's been hurt some, but he's not been good all season long. You don't really have nobody outside of those 2 that can even get open and cause separation. And then the scheme's not that good. On top of the fact that Michael Penix Jr. at times have those brain farts as a quarterback. 1 minute he can hit those throws. He can get the ball out quick. In some minutes, he's sitting there in the pocket holding the ball 3 or 4 seconds too long. So it's starting to get to a point now where it's like you haven't really made too many adjustments since then. He also said that the 49ers, yes, that's the game that ever since then they have not recovered from the adjustments of that game. And yes, you're right. They haven't adjusted at all. And that's one of the reasons why, as a fan base, we've been calling for Zach Robinson to be fired, because one of the things is you got to be willing to adjust once teams start to figure you out. Because, again, Bijan's one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, but he can't do it just all by himself. You still got Tyler Algier, who don't get enough carries at this point with the Falcons. Even late in this game, you would have thought that having the rushing attack, Tyler Algier had 2 carries today. That man should be seeing 8 to 10 carries a game. You can't just be Bijan. Bijan had 20 combined receptions and catches. Receptions and rushes. He had 12 rushes for 46 yards, and then he had 8 for 50 in the passing attack. That is a lot of wear and tear on Bijan Robinson. You have a running back that can get yards when you need him to. But also another thing that has not been discussed, this offensive line has not been good the last couple of weeks. We're going to be brutally honest about the Falcons right now. This line has not been good. Jake Matthews has been decent, but we lost Matthew Bergeron early in the game. That hurt us. And we've already been down Caleb McGarry, and Elijah Wilkinson, as the season has went along, has started getting more and more exposed in the passing downs for sure. So it's getting to a point now where it's like teams are just saying, okay, we're going to blitz the Falcons. We're going to make Penix beat us. And last week was such a wash with Kirk Cousins in the game. It was just bad. So something's going to have to happen, and going to have to happen soon, because the way that this season is going, it's getting bad. It's getting bad, and it's getting bad quick. And it's really to a point now where somebody's job is seriously on the line. And I don't think it's more of a leash than people think it is. One thing I don't like about this organization, they wait until it's way too out of hand before they want to make a move. At this point of the season, it is out of hand. Stop waiting on it to get to 3-6 and 3-7 and then decide, okay, I'm going to fire Raheem or fire Zach. Something's going to have to happen to put a jolt in this organization, or the season's going to get further away. At this point, next week is a serious must-win, because dropping to 3-6 with a hot Carolina team coming to town in 2 weeks, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. And at this point, I don't care about you got the Saints on the back half. You got the Jets on the back half. You still got to play the Bucs one more time in Tampa. You still got the Rams coming here on Monday Night Football late in December. There are games down the stretch that is not winnable for you. That could be potentially not winnable for you. You got Seattle coming in December the 7th. There are games still on this schedule that can get away from you. So it's imperative that you find a way to win. Today should have been one of those wins. And then, unfortunately, Parker Romo missed that ugly field goal, too. They're going to have to address that. Tev said, same cycle at the Falcons every season. All the hype with the offseason. Yes, I agree. And that's another thing that makes this fan base really fed up with this team. You continuously have pushed this issue, all these hype videos on social media, all this, teams they're gonna sleep on this league. We're gonna tear the league apart. But then as the season gets here, you get progressively worse. This starts with not showing nobody in preseason. Then you go through the first couple of weeks where nobody don't know what they're doing. Then it's to a point now where schedule is getting out of hand. It's getting worse from you. You got through the first 6 games 3-3. Now you've dropped the last 2. So now, again, season getting away from you. By the way, you don't have a first-round pick. And you have multiple needs on this team, who still, by the way, let's also throw this out here. You still got a Kirk Cousins contract to deal with after this season. So the season is getting away from you, and all your eggs was put in this season. It's getting away from you, but something has to happen at the top. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not just a coaching issue. This thing starts at the top. They have not been consistently. Raheem Morris, he's a glorified offensive coordinator. Excuse me, a glorified coordinator. Zach Robinson is not an offensive coordinator in the National Football League. He's not ready. But this is what happens when you got a Rich McKay and an Arthur Blank who's going to hire from the 2016 team again. Two of the coaches are head coach and the defensive coordinator was on the 2016 Falcons that went to the Super Bowl. Get away from the 2016 team. We have one player on the team that played in Super Bowl 51. Get away from that, because I'm going to tell you like this. You're getting to the point where you're going on 8 seasons without making the playoffs. That's your longest stretch in Falcon history. I don't know if a lot of people keep up with the Falcons history from, just in general, but the longest stretch for the Falcons has been 8? I think they just would tie it if they finish this season missing the playoffs. And that was between 82 and 91. You don't want to go another 8-year stretch of missing the postseason and having losing football. It got to change, and it got to change immediately, because I'm telling you, you're losing your fan base quick. To this point, we're 8 years into the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we have not hosted a playoff game. In the NFC South, it's not like this is NFC South. It's head over heels, tough to win. You're blowing games. It's getting bad. And as a fan base, people getting tired of this, man. I'm telling you, people are getting sick of dealing with this team week in and week out. Do not be surprised if they lose that game on that Sunday, which is a 9:30 a.m. game too, by the way, for all the fans that don't keep up with the time. That's a morning game. If this team dropped to 3-6, you're not going to see a lot of folks really pop out there for the home game against Carolina. I'm just going to be real with you. And then you're going to see a lot of Panther fans make that 3.5-hour drive down to Atlanta to see their team. So, again, a lot got to change. It got to change quick, because I'm telling you, this season is getting far away from this team, and they're seeing more and more questions happening than answers with this ball club going forward. But I'm going to hit these stats from the game just to kind of show how this game played out in the statistics. Let me scroll up. I was looking at some of the stats before I came on air. So, Michael Penix Jr., 22 of 37, 221, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He only had 1 sack. He actually did not have a bad game. But, of course, it was 22 of 37 is not the best percentage either. That's 22 completions, 15 incompletions. You got to get a little bit better when you're throwing the ball over 30 times in a game. Drake May, 19 of 29, 259, 2 touchdowns, a pick. The Falcons defense got 6 sacks today, by the way. That's a positive sign for that defensive line. Looking at the rushing totals, Bijan 12 of 46. Michael Penix was the second leading rusher. That cannot happen when you have a Tyler Algier on your team. Your rushing attack has 14 carries. If it can't get going, you got to find a way to get going. They're just getting away from it. Travion Henderson, 14 for 55. Terrell Jennings, 11 for 35. Drake May had 8 carries for 20. He ran the ball 8 times. And I'm going to tell you, statistically, it don't look like the most impressive day at the office. But if you watch the game, they were popping off a couple of runs here and there. They were they was able to get a couple of productive runs because they're able to get into the second level because linebacker play is so bad. And one of the things that I want to talk about with that is Jalen Walker had an outstanding game today. But I even want to see them play him at the linebacker position because the group at linebacker is so bad. J.D. Bertrand is one of the worst linebackers I've seen, and I've seen some bad linebacker play in Falcons history. Going back from the Warlows to the King Dents to throw out a couple of names. So they got to get better at linebacker, and it has to happen soon. Another thing is that also changes as far as the tight end. The tight ends, as you'll see in the statistics, had a pretty okay game. They had a productive day at tight end. I'm not going to say they had a great day. They had a productive day. But, of course, we'll see in the statistics as I go further. Drake London, 9 of 118 and 3 touchdowns. If you got him on your fantasy team, you are absolutely excited. Bijan, 8 for 50, as I mentioned. He has 10 targets as a running back playing receiver. Not what I want on a consistent basis. That's my running back, my second leading rusher. My second leading receiver. Not really too high on that. Kyle Pitts, 4 of 38. He had 7 targets. Darnell Mooney had 1 catch. He had 1 catch. He's just basically he's been MIA in his offense. David Seals got 1 target. It was incomplete. Outside of that, look at the opposite side of the field. This is the difference in what spreading the ball is and what that is that you've seen on the Falcons end. Demario Douglas had 4 for 100 and a touchdown. Hunter Henry, 4 for 51, no touchdown, of course. Stephon Diggs had a touchdown in the second quarter. Travion Henderson had a couple of receptions. Austin Hooper got a big third down conversion to extend the drive. Terrell Jennings had a catch. Mac Hollins had 2. Keyshawn Boot got targeted, and Kyle Williams got targeted. But the ball's being spread around. We're not seeing that here. But we also don't have the depth to spread the ball around. So it's bad. But it also goes back to your play calling. You're not getting everybody involved. Outside, Bijan has more targets in the passing attack than Kyle Pitts. That's not good. You can feed him some, but he shouldn't be getting more targets than Kyle Pitts. That's just my personal opinion. You disagree if you want. That's just how I feel about that. Tev said Mooney ain't been the same since the injury, and why are you that? That's exactly what I'm saying. You need to be getting your tight end the ball in this case. You have one of the most freakish mismatches at tight end, and you're just not feeding them. It's getting annoying. Also looking back, okay, so Michael Penix had a fumble recovery. He recovered his own fumble, and then Drake made that was that strip sack that Jalen Walker had early in the game to keep this half to cut into the lead before the half. So as you see, AJ Terrell led the teams in tackles, but look at this situation today. Laquell London had his first 2 career sacks in the NFL. He's been in the league for 6 years. Shout out to the guy. That was a good day for you. Jalen Walker, 5 tackles, 4 solo, 2 sacks. He had a tackle for a loss, 2 tackles for a loss, a pass breakup, some QB hits. He was all over the field, and that's why he was missing. Jalen is showing you why we picked him at number 15. He's continuously getting better and better. And whether it's with Ulbrich or veteran defensive coordinator after the season, I think he's going to get better as time goes on as a Falcon. I don't know if he's going to continually rotate between DN and linebacker. I think that Shields should do that, but I also think he should play a little more linebacker to see what happens. Caden Ellis, 5 tackles, 4 solo. Bertrand, 5 tackles, 4 solo. Both of them do not need to be the starting linebackers for your team. But, I mean, we're injured right now. Something you could really try to change that up today. We'll see. D'Alford had 4 tackles. He didn't really have a good game. Brandon Dorless, also, this was his best day of his career. 4 tackles, 3 solos, had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss. Dorless has been actually pretty good this year. He's been actually better than Ruka Horrible. So I think he's going to continue to progress in this defense as time goes on. Xavier Watts, 4 tackles. Sam Roberts, 4 tackles. Ebiketie, he did not have a sack today, but Ebiketie was all over the field. I got to give him his props. I've been pretty tough on Ebiketie throughout this season. He has had a good day-to-day. And as you see, just a couple of the other tackles from the team. On the Patriots side, Christian Gonzalez had a solid day until he got, hurt at the end of that game, and he ended up going out. Not really much happened on the Patriot end, but their defense was getting stops. They forced the Falcons to go, 0-5 on third down before we even converted third down. Caleb Von Chason got a sack on Michael Penix Jr. Harold Landry was getting back there. They didn't really put up a lot of numbers based, if if you make sense. But they did enough. They held the team. They held it together when they needed to, basically. But again, this is just some of the stats. Not really much happened. Jesse Bates got an interception. Not really much here. But here's the one glaring thing that we are here to talk about. Parker Romo hit a field goal from 38 yards and proceeded to miss a field goal that could have tied the game. And that's the reason why we're at where we're at right now. That can't continue to happen, or that could cost him his job. Not really much as you can see on this end on as far as punting and kicking. But I'm going to go to the breakdown of the team stats as well. Let's go to these team stats. Okay, the Patriots had more first down than the Falcons, 23-17. They were 8 of 12. Listen to what I just said. They were 8 of 12 on third down. The Falcons had 1 third down conversion. You're not winning a ball game in the National Football League when you are 1-10 on third down. That is on your offensive coordinator. That is on your execution by the players on offense. It has become a glaring issue as the season has went along. And look at that glaring issue right there. You were 1-10 and you lost by 1. Just let that sink in. That's all I got to say. New England at 331 to our 288. They had one more drive than we did. As you see, we were kind of identical as far as the passing numbers. But we had an outstanding day as the pass rush, 6 sacks on the day. We had to force 2 turnovers, by the way. We didn't even turn the ball over. But again, you've got New England to not convert in the red zone one time. Like I said, statistically, you didn't really do too many outside of the glaring 1-10. Now, one thing that you did have a mistake on, you got out. You didn't have the ball but 25 minutes. They had the ball almost over 34 minutes in the game. You're not winning ball games like that. When you can keep away, play smart football, and control the clock, you're going to win 9 times out of 10. And that's what cost the Falcons today. But that's the stats of the game. But moving on, the Falcons are in a very, very dangerous situation. They're in a super dangerous situation. They go to Berlin to play the Indianapolis Colts next Sunday. That's a 9:30 a.m. game. It should be on NFL Network. I'm sure they're going to have it local for all the folks in Atlanta. But I think that's a 9:30 game in Berlin. Falcons have to win that game, or we can very well call the season over because it's getting further and further away from you. It was a bad loss. Bad loss. Couple of dumb Falcon mistakes cost us this game. I also did not agree with Raheem Morris' approach to those last 2 minutes of that game. We've had a lot of those issues where we've left points on the field before the half or late in the game, and it showed up again today. They got to get better. You got to get better because at this point, the coaching staff could very well be gone behind all the things that has happened over the last couple of weeks. But that's all I have to say about this Atlanta Falcons team. They're annoying. They're annoying. I prefer at times to watch NFL Sunday Ticket over watch what is the best called the 2025 Atlanta Falcons. But on that note, this has been another episode of All In with Nate. I'll be back on here talking about something else at some point this week. It won't be the Falcons, I can tell you that. But this has been another episode of All In with Nate. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your football Sunday. And good luck for the rest of the week. Happy November to all of you.